Lena sat curled beside the window, sketchbook on her knees, tracing the outline of a half-finished rose. Rain tapped gently on the glass, a rhythm that calmed her more than the voices downstairs ever could. Her mother had remarried just over a year ago, and nothing felt the same since. The house was too quiet, too careful. David, her stepfather, was polite, always offering to help, but never quite breaking through the wall she'd built after her father left. She didn't hate David. She didn't really feel anything at all. Just the dull ache of a life rearranged, without her consent. Her mother had changed too, smiling more, yes, but always busy, always bustling from room to room, forgetting to notice the way Lena had retreated into herself. A soft knock interrupted the silence. Lena froze. The door creaked open, and David stepped in slowly, holding something in his hand. "This fell near the stairs," he said gently, extending a folded piece of paper. Lena recognized it instantly, her drawing of a girl sitting in the dark, lit only by a candle. She hadn't meant anyone to see it. Her stomach tightened, but she said nothing, reaching out cautiously to take it. "You draw really well," he said, his voice quiet but warm. She nodded once, not meeting his eyes. He didn't leave. "I used to draw, too. Not as well. Mostly comics when I was a kid," he added, offering a small smile. Still no response. David glanced around the room, his gaze lingering on a shelf full of sketchbooks. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, gesturing to the floor near the window. Lena looked at him, eyebrows raised in surprise, but shrugged. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. He lowered himself slowly, careful not to invade her space. For a moment, they both watched the rain. "I remember drawing once when I couldn't sleep. My mom had just passed. I was 10. Couldn't talk to anyone about it. So I drew her face. Over and over. I didn't want to forget." Lena glanced sideways. Something shifted. The quiet wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was shared. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, eyes on the sky. "It's okay. I think drawing saved me back then." There was a pause. Then, without thinking, Lena flipped her sketchbook to a new page and held out a pencil. David chuckled softly. "You sure?" She nodded. "Draw your comic." He took the pencil, and for the first time since her life changed, Lena felt a flicker of warmth, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that settles in slowly, like sunlight through rain. Downstairs, the world continued moving. But in that room, a fragile connection began to take root. Not loud, not dramatic, just real. And real was enough. The next morning, Lena found a small note tucked into her sketchbook. Just 4 words, written in neat handwriting. "Keep creating. It matters." No name. No explanation. But she knew it was David. She didn't mention it. Just kept drawing. And the notes kept coming, short, simple messages. This one made me smile. "Your lines have strength." They didn't feel forced. They felt like someone genuinely seeing her. At dinner, things were different. Her mother was telling a story about her coworker's wedding cake disaster, and Lena actually laughed. Not because it was that funny, but because David made a face, mock shock with raised eyebrows and exaggerated horror. Silly but oddly comforting. Later that week, she came home to find a new set of pencils on her desk, with a yellow sticky note. "They're good for shading." No signature. No pressure. She asked, "Did you leave these?" He nodded, not making a big deal of it. Just said, "I saw you struggling with the softer tones." Then walked away. That night, Lena stayed up late working on a landscape, something she hadn't tried in months. Mountains, sky, and an open road. When she finished, she left it on the kitchen table. No note, just the drawing. The next day, it was pinned to the corkboard in the hallway. No comment. No explanation. Just there. Present. A small moment of acknowledgement. They started talking more, nothing deep at first. Just art, music, funny things on the radio. One evening, she played a song while sketching, and he recognized it instantly. They talked about how lyrics can feel like memories. He told her about a band he followed in college and how he once drove 4 hours to see them live. She asked him to look at her contest submission. He took it seriously, studied the lines, the structure, the shadows, gave actual feedback, gentle but honest. This part here, it's strong. Feels like movement, but this corner might feel more balanced if you bring the light forward. No one had ever spoken about her work like it mattered. Not like it was a cute hobby, but like it was a language worth learning. On a Saturday, he suggested sketching outside. Just the backyard. She agreed. They didn't talk much, just sat with their pads and pencils. Birds chirped, wind moved the trees. When they did speak, it was about shading techniques, or how clouds were hard to get right. Something shifted. He didn't treat her like a child or a project. He just showed up. Consistently. Kindly. With no expectations. Her mother noticed. One night, as they were clearing the table, she whispered, "It's good to see you smile again." Lena didn't answer, but the words stayed with her. She started sleeping better. Dreaming again. Not of escape, but of possibilities. Of colors and stories and quiet support that asked for nothing in return. Whatever this new rhythm was, it was working. Not loud, not flashy, but steady. And steady felt safe. Lena found the letter by accident. Tucked between old school papers in a dusty drawer, addressed to her from her biological father. It was dated over a year ago, never given, never mentioned. Just sitting there, waiting in silence. She read it once, then again. His words were clumsy, apologetic, full of regret. He missed her. He thought about her every day. He wasn't proud of how he left. He wanted a second chance. The anger came fast. Not just at her father, but at everything. At her mother for hiding it. At David for being there when someone else should have been. At herself for letting her guard down. She didn't speak to anyone that evening. Didn't eat. Just closed her door and let the silence thicken. David knocked once. She didn't answer. He didn't push. The next morning, she skipped breakfast. Her mom asked what was wrong. Lena just said, "Nothing," and left it there. She stopped drawing. For days, her sketchbook stayed closed. The contest was coming up, but she didn't care anymore. What did it matter? Her real father wanted to come back. Where had he been when she needed him most? And why did a stranger, David, get to stand in his place? Her thoughts spiraled. Every kind gesture now felt suspicious. Every memory felt rewritten. Maybe she'd just been filling a gap. Maybe David had, too. When she came home one afternoon, something was resting on her bed. A folded sheet of paper. She hesitated, but opened it. It was a drawing. She recognized the style instantly. David's lines were precise, calm. It was a picture of her sitting in the garden, sketchbook in hand, eyes lifted to the sky. Around her, soft rays of light. A caption at the bottom read, "No matter where you came from, you belong here." Her chest tightened. There was no pressure in the words. No guilt, no plea for attention. Just quiet affirmation. A reminder. Later that night, she sat at her desk, staring at the letter again. Then she tore it in half. Not out of hate, but clarity. She couldn't change what her father did, or didn't do. But she could decide who showed up now. She opened her sketchbook. The page felt unfamiliar after days away, but the pencil fit in her hand like it always had. She didn't know what to draw at first. Then she just let the lines come. Soft curves. Open doors. A girl standing, not waiting. She didn't need perfect answers. She needed honesty. She needed effort. And she had that right here. Her mother knocked gently and asked if she was okay. Lena turned, eyes steady. "Yeah, I think I am." That night, she slept soundly for the first time in a week. Not because everything was fixed, but because she finally knew what mattered. Not who left, but who stayed. The contest day arrived quietly. No big send-off, no pep talk. Lena walked in with her sketchbook pressed against her chest, nerves humming under her skin. Her submission was simple, a series of sketches titled Moments That Made Me Stay. It wasn't flashy. No dramatic colors or grand technique. Just quiet, Honest drawings, a hand offering a pencil, a note beside a window, a garden bench with two sketchbooks resting side by side. She didn't expect anything. Not a win, not recognition. She just wanted to finish what she started. When the results were announced, her name wasn't at the top. But then came a special mention for emotional storytelling and depth in visual simplicity. Lena. Applause. Some cheers. She felt the heat in her cheeks but stayed still. Afterward, a judge approached her, smiling. Your work felt real, like a story told without speaking. That's rare. She nodded, unsure what to say. It wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about understanding herself. That evening, the three of them sat in the living room. Her mother held her hand while David sat across, watching her with quiet pride. She held the certificate in her lap, but didn't mention it. Instead, she asked, "Do you think we could go see the gallery tomorrow?" David's smile was immediate. Of course. The next day, they walked through the gallery, stopping at a corner where her framed sketches hung. Beneath the title was a small card, dedicated to the quiet moments that remind us we're not alone. Lena stepped back, watching strangers pause in front of her work. One woman wiped a tear. Another whispered something to her partner, pointing at the sketch of two people drawing under a tree. She didn't say much. She didn't need to. The art spoke where words once failed. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting gold across the pavement. David handed her a small notebook. Blank pages, soft cover. On the first page, he had written, "Your story is just beginning." She opened it, smiled, and slipped it into her bag. In the days that followed, nothing major changed. The house was still a little quiet. Her mom still rushed around. But the silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt full. Lena kept drawing. Not for approval. Not for contests. Just because it helped her breathe. One evening, she looked over at David, who was reading at the table. She said, "Thank you." He looked up. For what? For showing up. He didn't respond with a speech. Just a nod. Like he understood exactly what she meant. Later, as she lay in bed, sketchbook on her lap, she wrote one final line at the bottom of the page. Love doesn't always come loudly. Sometimes it enters like a whisper and stays like a promise. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't searching for what was missing. She was grateful for what was found.